I printed it out. So if you hear the paper,
the whole schedule.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Well, what's scary is I don't print anything anymore. So I started printing it, and it was printing landscape, and it was going to be like 30 pages or whatever. And I was like, stop, cancel. This is too stressful. So I printed out about 7 pages before I caught the mistake. This whole schedule, if you do it the right way, is only 3 pages.
Gotcha.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah, I figured it would save me a little time instead of handwriting every game.
True. But then, are you intimately related with
That's
the
true.
schedule?
That's true. I mean, I don't know it as well as I could have.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. You
gotta know this thing inside out.
That's right. You gotta feel it.
There's no way this information is available later for you to get.
Yeah, so just prepare to...
It'll be great.
It'll be perfect. Yeah, so just prepare to...
Y'all motherfuckers don't watch us play throughout the year, to tell you the truth. I'm gonna be real with you, and I don't care if I get fined.
That train is off the track.
I feel like you can't just jump through Neptune and be okay.
Just prepare to...
What the show needs is more dogs and bears and chickens and stuff.
Yeah, so just prepare to be awash in unbeatable goodness.
Welcome, Pacers fans. You are listening to the Undebeatables, your semi-weekly Pacers podcast. This is episode 717. Coming to you from the high school home of Jameson Brewer, Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm the Dr. Jason Triplett. This show, we got just one topic. It's schedule pod time, baby. Joining me to do this nerdy exercise is the one and only from Asheville, North Carolina. He's our in-house bartender, mixing up the drinks and the crappy jingles. It's John Colson.
What is up, Pacer Nation? What is up, Jason? So glad to be here with you. I've missed you. It's been a long off season, but I have a shout out because it hasn't been an off season for everyone. Shout out to the Fever, who just won again today, and they're now 11-4 since their 2-9 start, and solidly in the playoffs at this point with 12 games remaining. Not that they couldn't still slip out, but they're looking real good in the 6th seed, and even only a game and a half out of the 5th seed. Or no, they're in the 7th seed, game and a half out of the 6th seed. So things are going well.
How many teams make the playoffs?
8. 8 out of the 12 teams, yeah. And the bottom 4 teams are terrible.
Probability is high.
Yeah, the bottom 4 teams are like 6-20. Like they're all really bad.
Okay,
so we're
gotcha.
we're not 100% guaranteed, but it's not mathematically guaranteed, but we're gonna make the playoffs.
And how many games did you say were left? 12 games?
Let's see. I think that's right.
Something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah, no. I have no idea, but I believe you. But it astonishes me because if my alerts were correct, Caitlin Clark just set the single season record for assists in a season.
A single season rookie record. Yeah.
A rookie record.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Still very impressive with 12 games remaining.
Got to read the article, but yeah, okay. Cool.
But shout out.
Right on, yeah. Before we start the show, just want to remind listeners that they can support the longest running Pacers podcast by heading over to patreon.com/undebeatables to support our show for as little as $1 a month. And if you want to give more, that is always welcome as well. All right, so it's been a long time since we podcast. We were talking before the show that we basically made it through the playoffs, and then we're like, that was too much. We're out. We were not expecting to podcast every day or every other day all the way through the Eastern Conference Finals, and then also do the finals. So, I mean, there were tons of things that happened in the free agency period and trades that happened. We're not going to recap all of that now because it's super old news, and we'll do our version of that when we do Where That Player At as we get ready.
Yeah, I don't want
for the season.
Joey listening to this episode and like that's counts as studying for where that player at. You know,
That's right. Yeah, we're in the no study period.
that's
right
exactly
now, so,
right. It's radio
so we can't
silence.
be doing anything.
Yeah, you can't be on any NBA websites during the summer. That's the rules for where that player at.
That's right. Yeah, we actually put blocks on keywords like NBA transactions, whatnot.
That's right.
It'll throw an
Take
error.
it very seriously.
So what we're going to do today is what we do traditionally is our sort of first pod of the new season, in this case the 24-25 season, which is this little nugget that the NBA gives you in the middle of the summer, which is the schedule gets released. And so everybody is fully optimistic at this point. You get to look at the schedule unfettered and say, we're going to win all these games and we're going to lose all these games, and we sort of go through it that way in our nerdy way. Colson and I think, are the most nerdy about this.
Right. So we figured if it was just the two of us, we could get it done.
we can do this. Okay, so the way that I typically do this, or the way that I did it back in the day, was I would start by looking at, okay, how many back-to-back games do we have, right? This is less of an issue over the last 4 years. I should probably just stop doing this. We have 14 back-to-backs this year. Spread out pretty nicely. It's not, there's no 4 games in 5 nights or anything like that, so it's kind of a non-issue. The next sort of interesting thing is the road trips that we have. So by my count, and Colson always corrects me because I screw something up at some point, we have 6 different road trips of at least 3 games. The first is in November from the 18th to the 22nd. We go at Toronto, at Houston, at Milwaukee. And then beginning of December, the 1st through the 6th, we do at Memphis, at Toronto, at Brooklyn, at Chicago. That Toronto-Brooklyn is a back-to-back. Then we go the 19th to the 23rd of December, do a short West Coast swing, weirdly. At Phoenix, at Sacramento, at Golden State, the last of which is a back-to-back. That could be a tough little trip. And then we don't go on any road trips until February, so January should be a home-heavy schedule. February 3rd to the 8th, another West Coast swing, at Utah, at Portland, at Clippers, at Lakers. And then really the last 2 you could almost combine into one road swing because they're separated by a single home game. So March 6th to the 10th, at Atlanta, at Chicago, and then the 14th to the 17th at Philly, at Milwaukee, at Minnesota, which is brutal. But looking at all these road trips, I was astonished. None of these, I mean, other than the last one, are scary. And I don't know if am I overestimating how good our team is, or did we catch a good break here with like how these road trips like worked out?
I have, as long as I have been watching the Pacers, I don't ever remember a season where we didn't have at least one 5-game road swing. This is
right.
There's 2 4-game road swings, and that's it. You just listed your these road trips were just 3 games, which is still a road trip, but like, you know, last year we had a 7-game road swing. You know, none of that's happening this season, and they're spread out pretty nicely, except that last one. You're right. You know, which I like the way you talked about that. Is it's basically a road swing. Your home is one of the stops on this road swing,
Right. Yeah.
But
and it's against Milwaukee. It's actually a pretty tough stretch of basketball,
pretty-
which
yeah.
we'll get to later.
Yeah, as we talk about it, but yeah, no, I mean, as far as that goes, yeah, as far as this road swings go, this is, I mean, cake.
From NBA, I mean, nothing is easy in the NBA.
No, of course not. But yeah, I mean, like,
there's
Grizzlies, Raptors, Brooklyn, Chicago. I mean, that's one of our 4-game road swings. Like it's like 4 of the worst teams in the league right in a row. Like, this is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Memphis is a question mark, but yeah, those other 3 are for sure.
And then the other one is Jazz, Trailblazers, Clippers, Lakers. You got to see Clippers, Lakers back to back every time you do it, so that's not a surprise. And are the Clippers going to be any good? You know,
Question mark. Yeah.
question mark. The Blazers and the Jazz aren't going to be that good. You know, so that one and those, and again, the other ones are just 3-game road swings. So if they go sideways, you're home already. You know.
Yep.
So I just felt that was what struck me most about the schedule right away was there was no big road swing. Sometimes we go out on the road for 2 weeks, you know, and none of that's happening this year.
Well, and perhaps that is because the Pacers have a very special road trip this year. It's only 2 games, but it is over a week long, and that is January 23rd and 25th. The Pacers are going to play against the Spurs in France.
Paris.
So, yeah. So, essentially, we get an extra road game this year.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Thanks, NBA. Not only because the game is going to be in France, but we're playing the Spurs, and they have Victor Wembanyama, and so they're going to be... The whole crowd is going to be cheering for the Spurs.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Why?
How did we draw this straw? I don't know.
I don't know. How many Pacer fans do you think are actually going to be in the crowd?
So, I mean, a smattering. That one guy that they always show is going to be there, but nobody else. Yeah. Although, is this an Undebeatacon? Does this have Undebeatacon potential?
Written all over it. It's a long flight, but probably worth it.
Yeah, I would say. We can check out all the, the remnants of the Olympic Village.
Sure.
Maybe we could stay on one of those cardboard beds. Catch a deal on that.
See if I could dust off some of my high school French.
Yeah, exactly. You were so good at that.
I actually had some regulars at the bar today, and they were talking about how they had gone to Paris earlier in the summer, and they were like, the entire thing was just getting ready for the Olympics. And so they couldn't go see any of the things you're supposed to see in France. Like, all the roads were blocked off. The Louvre was closed. The Eiffel Tower was closed. You know, everything's just closed. And I was like, well, at least you got to be there for a moment in history, right? Which is a city prepping for the Olympics.
That's the moment. Yeah.
They kind of timed that poorly.
Yes, they did. Okay, so maybe that's why the rest of our road schedule is pretty kind. But I will say that France road trip is kind of nice. They buffer it like on both sides with 3 or 4 days of rest or whatever for jet lag adjustments and whatnot. So we'll see how that affects the team.
We got a home game before we leave, and we come back to a home game. You know, so we're leaving from our own beds, coming home to our own beds as well.
Sure, that is nice. Do you think Tyrese is gonna show the guys all the places where he got inspired to play such great Olympic basketball, or
maybe?
Maybe Andrew Nimhard will show the guys where he got to play. Shout out Tyrese.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, did you see his tweet where he posted that getting a gold medal was like being on a group project in school where you didn't do a damn thing but you still got an A?
That's so good.
That was pretty good.
It was so good, and I'm glad he's understanding that it was the experience of being with those guys and stuff, but also taking it lightly instead of being upset about it. I mean,
yeah.
You're not going to see minutes in front of Steph Curry,
No.
They also said that he had a minor injury. I didn't quite get all that, but they said that might have been something. I don't think the guy was going to play anyway, but that was apparently he was battling some injury.
Well, I was telling Jill, she was like, "Oh, he must be bummed about this," and I was like, "Actually, this is kind of perfect because I didn't want him. He had a bum hammy,
right?
And he retweaked it in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right.
I want that guy to rest and rehabilitate all year. So he doesn't overexert himself this summer, but he still gets to hang around these, all-time greats and see how they prepare for games and what their process is, like up close and personal. Like, there's been a lot of evidence over the past decade plus that athletes that go on this play on the Olympic team see an increase or an improvement in their, they go from, all-star to superstar sometimes. So that'd be great.
Well, I mean, LeBron and Dwayne Wade had career years after, going to the Olympics, watching Kobe, and realizing how hard it was for them to, how hard they had to work.
Right.
They'd be coming home from the bars and he was already in the gym, sort of stuff,
Yep.
So, yeah, and can you imagine just now as Tyrese being able to pick LeBron's mind, his brain, his beautiful basketball brain. I hope we got to do some of that. So.
Oh yeah, I hope so too. All right. So those are all the road trips. The next thing, so this is sort of a new feature since they started rejiggering the schedule, is home stands. So we get all these huge home stands after COVID because they want to reduce travel.
Right.
So we have 4 of these stands that are at least 3 games long. The first is in late November. Washington, the Pelicans, Portland, and Detroit. So that's juicy.
Right.
One of those is a back-to-back, Washington and New Orleans. Then we have another one in February, the 20th to the 26th. We play Memphis, the Clippers, Denver, and Toronto. Notably, that is coming out of the All-Star break. So we're going to be well-rested and on a homestand coming out of the All-Star break. Awesome. The next is in March, the 19th to the 26th. Dallas, Brooklyn, Minnesota, and the Lakers, which is kind of nice. And then the last is in April, the 8th through the 11th. Washington, Cleveland, and Orlando, which is a back-to-back, the Cleveland-Orlando game. I looked at this and I thought, this is juicy. Like, these homestands are potential sweeps, all of them,
Yeah, that 5-game homestand.
I mean, Dallas is tough, Minnesota is tough, the Lakers are tough, but
I'm okay with that. This is great news. Young teams play better at home, although I don't know if we need to start calling. Maybe we can stop calling ourselves a young team after we went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, teams with deep benches play well at home. Bench guys still play at home. I think that's an adage that will still hold true. And we're going to, again, have one of the deepest benches in the league. So,
I don't know if we did talk about that.
Works well for us.
You said we don't need to talk about all the off-season transactions, and I completely agree with that because we got to wait until where that player at. However, it is useful to say that we brought the whole band back together. So
sure.
We're bringing back Pascal Siakam, got re-signed. We extended Andrew Nembhard to a gazillion dollars.
Re-signed Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin, who I thought we would not have enough money for. So, what do I know about money?
And then somehow signed James Wiseman as well.
We signed James, and James Johnson. We brought him back too.
Nice.
Just as our enforcer.
We did lose Jalen Smith. Was our big loss. The guy that got the most minutes that lost. So
yeah, but he had lost his minutes.
And he had a great year.
He had a great year, but he'd lost his minutes to Isaiah Jackson in the playoffs, and was going to be more money than we could pay. So, and he got paid. So good on him.
That is true. Okay,
but I'm not going to tell you
one other. Okay, thanks.
Don't want to spoil it.
I have no idea.
There you go.
Okay, a couple other notes on the schedule. We got the Emirates NBA Cup. Our group is Miami, Milwaukee, Detroit, and Toronto, and us, obviously. Those games will be happening November 15th. We host Miami. The 22nd at Milwaukee. The 29th host Detroit. And December 3rd at Toronto. And then the quarterfinals will be either the December 10th or 11th. Semis the 14th. And the championship would be on the 17th if we were to make any of those knockout stages. To me, this NBA Cup, it all rides on that Miami game. Like, if we win that Miami game, we're sitting pretty. Because I think that, Detroit's not good. And Toronto is horrible. So, I mean, at Milwaukee is a tough game. Like, so let's chalk that one up as a loss. But then if you beat Miami, you're 3-1.
Right.
We're back in business. This team loved the NBA Cup last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you predict success in this again this year?
We'll get out of the group play again, I believe.
To the quarterfinals?
Yeah. We'll have to see what our matchup is at that point. We just beat up on Milwaukee and Boston, didn't we, to get to the finals last year? So
we beat Boston to get to the semifinals, and then we beat Milwaukee in the semifinals to get to the championship game, which we lost to the Lakers.
And if we don't go there, 2 games will be added to our schedule, because right now we're looking at an 80-game schedule, and those will be played sort of, at the same time.
Yeah, we will play either the 10th or 11th, and the 14th, or somewhere around there.
Yeah, yep. And the only game that does not count towards the season is the actual finals. So last year we actually played 83 games.
That's right. Okay, we talked road trips, we talked homestands. Let's look in toto. I came across what I thought were 2 particularly tough stretches of basketball. Okay. Last year we had what was it? January Be Wary?
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah.
And the year before it was like
the Death March,
mm-hmm. or something. Yeah. I don't know what we're going to call this one because it spans a month. So it starts in mid-December and goes to the beginning of January. Starts with one of those road swings, the Phoenix, at Sacramento, at Golden State. Come home to play OKC. Go back on the road to play at Boston, home to Milwaukee, at Miami, home to Phoenix. That is a rough stretch of basketball, my friend.
That is a brutal stretch of basketball.
9 games.
Yeah. I've sort of sectioned these things out, sections of the season, and this comes in a part of the season that I think our sphincters are going to start getting a little tight, because our record is not going to be quite what we thought it should be at this point in the season, I think.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm terrified of that stretch. We're going to have to really, I think, rely on some of our playoff experience and maybe get a lucky bouncer here or there to not lose all of these games. Of course, we wouldn't lose all of them, but not to really start to get down on ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if we go 4-5 through that stretch,
that would be great.
Or 5-4. I mean, 5-4 would be very good. There's a couple back-to-backs in there too, mixed in, of course, to make life worse. But
so there's the 22nd, 23rd, and then you get basically Christmas Eve and Christmas off, and then it's a back-to-back 26th, 27th. So it's like, it's not
fly home to your family.
Right. It's not 4 games in 5
right
nights,
back.
but you might as well.
Yeah.
It's 4 games in 6 nights, but it's the holiday where you're completely consumed by family stuff.
That's right. But that is really rough. I don't think it's as bad as the stretch that we identified last year in January, which was basically the entire month of January.
Yeah.
The only other tough stretch I found was in March from the 11th to the 19th. We host Milwaukee, then go on that brutal road trip. Or I guess this is kind of, you could say it starts before that because it's a road trip. But host Milwaukee, at Philly, at Milwaukee, at Minnesota, home to Dallas.
Yeah.
Which is the first night of a back-to-back, so maybe even the game after that is going to be tough. I forget who we're playing. But
I actually, so I had us losing all those, and I also had us losing at the Bulls, which is right before that, just because we always drop a game in Chicago for some reason.
Sure.
So yeah, I've got us on a big losing streak right there. Hopefully we'll win 1 or 2 and surprise me. But yeah, that's rough.
Were there any other stretches that have you your sphincter tightening, as you say?
Yeah. Well, so the way I mapped this out as I was looking at it is I started the first 24 games. I called it the Open to the Cup, right? So it's the opening night to the NBA Cup, and in that section, it's basically if you've got 2 games at home, you got 2 games away. You know, if you got a 3-game road trip, then you got a 3-game homestand. It's pretty balanced. Actually, it's only 11 home and and 14 away. That math's wrong. It was 25 games, I guess. I think it's about 500 basketball. I mean, I think it's kind of, we're playing good teams and we're playing bad teams, which, you know, not a bad start. You get you get the NBA Cup. You're having fun. Maybe you get into the semifinals. Nobody's feeling bad. But then we get that really tough section that we talked about. And this section after the Cup, I call it the push to Paris. And this is it's 7 home games and 9 away in this section, 16 games. And I think we're going to lose more games than we'd like. I think we're playing really good teams. I think that Paris trip is going to be looming. You know, I think the guys are going to be thinking about that. I think we could really lose focus in that section. And then, so after that's getting to Paris, and then starting with Paris to the All-Star game. I call it the road to the All-Star game because it's 10 games. Only 3 of them are at home. Now, they're not particularly difficult road games. So, of course, you're right, 2 away games in Paris against the Spurs. But then the Jazz, the Trailblazers, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Wizards. So those are winnable, but we're just spending a lot of time on the road. After the All-Star break, I call this section In the Balance. And I've got it going to that Mavericks game that you talked about in that really tough stretch. And the reason I call it In the Balance is because it's 7 home games, 7 away, and I think you play about 500 ball in that section as well. And then the home stretch, we play 11 home games in our last 15 games. And I think you could just totally make up so much ground. The playoff positioning, and you're like, oh my God, how are we in 7th seed? And then suddenly you look up and you got home court advantage in the first round. Like, I think that's the kind of stuff that can happen. You can go, 10-5, or you can go 12-3, or and just 13-2. Just go. It's very winnable games, and you can get on a roll. You're basically playing every other night in this section. There are 3 back-to-backs, but outside of that, we're playing almost consistently every other night. And I think you just get on a roll and you just start winning games. So that's kind of how I parsed it out in my brain.
Okay, I like that. I like this new gimmick. This is pretty nice. I will say that the beginning of the season is not so easy. We sort of glossed over that. We open at Detroit, which is nice, but then at New York, Philly, Orlando, Boston, New Orleans, Dallas, Orlando. Those are all playoff teams, right?
Yep.
That's whatever, 9 of our first 10 games are against playoff teams.
Yeah. And then it's the Hornets,
doesn't really lighten up.
Right. Then it's the Knicks, the Magic, the Heat. It's And our home game is against the 76ers with Paul George, so I assume we're gonna win that.
Sure.
Our first home game of the season tip is at 3:30, so baby race.
Yeah.
I noticed 9 solid baby race options as I went through.
9.
Yeah, start times of 5 or earlier. So ton of baby race opportunities this year.
Did you include those Paris games?
No, I didn't.
Those are actually okay, and they wouldn't have a baby race anyway. They wouldn't. Okay.
L'enfant. I don't know what the French word for race is. I used to.
Tour de l'enfant.
Yeah, there you go. Tour de l'enfant.
I like the way you break that down, and I noticed the same thing. That coming down the stretch, I think it's 11 of our last 15 games are home
insane.
games. And against some pretty weak competition, frankly. We had those 2 tough stretches. I also had a couple easy. Nothing in the NBA is easy.
Right.
Got to caveat everything with that.
Sure.
But there's a stretch from like Thanksgiving to early December, where we play. It's one of these homestands. It's Washington, the Pelicans, Portland, Detroit, and then one of the easy road swings at Memphis, at Toronto, at Brooklyn, at Chicago, and then home to Charlotte. Like, that's just
Oh yeah,
cakewalk.
that feels good.
Right?
Sure. And it's balancing out how difficult the first 12 games of the season are.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right, yeah. And then the other one is in late February, like coming out of the All-Star break. We have that homestand, Memphis, Clippers, Denver, Toronto, and then at Miami, so that's going to be tough, but home to Chicago, home to Houston, at Atlanta, at Chicago. And then we go into the super rough stretch that we talked about, or one of the super rough stretches. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting the way this season is sort of going to go. It's going to swing back and forth on us, I think. There's going to be weeks where we're like, man, we are just not able to string together 2 wins in a row, you know? And then hopefully we'll be able to string together some nice 8 or 9 game win streaks or whatever to make up for that.
Yeah, it does. It does have the sense of, you know, as you listen to the podcast over the season, that we're going to have some real bummed out weeks, and really, so there's a lot of, soul searching, you know. But then there's also going to be a lot of, you know, sweeps, and stuff like that. So I'm with you. It's Jekyll and Hyde a little bit, the way this thing's set up. But I think the most important thing, you know, even as you know, from the longer view, is even if you have a rough week and a good week, that they will balance out. And I do think that, we're going to be a little nervous at the beginning of the season because it's a really tough start. And then, like you said, it gets a little bit easier. Might be around 500, and then you hit that tough stretch again, and you're like, why are we a below 500 team? Like, we should be better than this. We were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then it's going to pull back and get easier. And then I think I'm with you that after the All-Star game, with outside of that one, tough road stretch, this is a pretty doable second or last third of the season. And I think this is where you catch momentum, you start winning some games, and you start putting the league on notice.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I will say for this sort of rough start to the season is that we have the advantage of consistency, right? So the Pacers are, as you mentioned before, bringing the whole band back together, whereas some of these teams like the Knicks and the Sixers are completely different teams. So the first third of their seasons, they're going to be figuring out
who they are. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And the same is true of some of these other teams. Not as major overhauls as Philly. I mean, nobody's as major overhauled as Philly, but like Orlando's got pieces that they need to work in. Miami's a little bit different. So
the Mavericks,
yeah, exactly. So I think it's going to be.
That's a really good point, because now
it will mitigate some of the difficulty, I think.
Well, yeah. Now I'm looking at this, being like, oh, you're right. I mean, we already know who we are, and these guys, most of these teams aren't going to know who they are early on. Yeah, let's just take it. Let's just win a lot of games this season. Then how about we do that?
That would be good. Now you went through game by game, right? And
I did. I do it. Yeah, when we do the Eastern Conference preview, and then we do a Pacer-specific preview, I'll go through and really, look at matchups and back-to-backs, and I'll have a better sense of what the other teams are going to be. I just kind of have a vague impression of who's going to be good and who's going to be bad. Is this team going to be over 500 or under 500, sort of thing? And then I just say that we're going to lose to all the over 500 teams, and we're going to win all the games of teams that are under 500. So it's a real kind of basic. This is not a prediction. This is just me going quick win-loss. I had us coming out at 46 wins. I think we're a far better team than that. I said last year we won 47 games, and we didn't have Pascal Siakam until the last third of it. And now we've got the experience of going to an Eastern Conference Finals. Like, we're a 50-win team. I think in my head, I don't think that's... If we don't win 50 games, it'll be a disappointment. So 46 is not my number, but I think if you just go quick scan, this is a, if we're around a 6 seed again, if you want to put us there, or a 5 seed, we're going to win around 46 games.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
I mean, that's kind of our minimum, I feel like.
I agree. Yeah. I'd say that if we do the whatever threshold target max thing or whatever that we do sometimes, the target is 50, I would say. We should hit 50 wins, I think.
Yeah.
But
And then the minimum would be
couple
40,
couple
45.
injuries could happen, and
Right.
and then we're down to 45. Things go amazingly well. We're 55 games or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that.
I don't think
That's-
we're a
that's
60 win team.
No,
by any
no,
means,
I don't
but,
think we are.
But I wouldn't be shocked if we won low 50s, low to mid 50s or whatever.
Yeah. So you came up with that, right? The threshold.
Well, I stole it from. That's how we do our performance reviews at work or whatever.
Okay.
Those are like the levels or whatever, basically.
Sure.
So.
Well, I feel good about those. Like, 50 is what we should be aiming for. See what happens.
Yeah, 50 and a top 4 seed, I would say.
Yep.
That's what we should be looking for. Mm-hmm. Everybody loves us now. We're the darlings of the NBA. We have
Yay.
5 games on ESPN, 4 games on TNT, and a smattering on NBA TV. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games on NBA TV. So, take that.
For data.
Whoever. I don't know.
Big
Yeah.
TV.
Big TV.
I think the takeaways, the brief takeaway is no road trips over 4 games, and there's still only 2 of those. We're going to Paris. That'll be fun. There's only really 2 long, rough stretches that we could identify by looking over this thing. And the last third of the season is extremely winnable.
Totally. Yeah.
So let's go be good at basketball. And now that you've reminded me that we're coming in with continuity and other teams aren't, I'm feeling much better about the first third of the season, which I was kind of mediocre on, feeling like it was going to be 500 ball, but we can play it better than 500 ball. Kind of jumping on some of these teams that are still experimenting,
Yeah, and I mean, again, like we saw last year, the fact that we have Pascal Siakam now mitigates this to some degree, but it's all about the health of Tyrese Halliburton. Like, if he misses big chunks of time, as he's prone to do, we're gonna suffer in those periods. There's no way around it. Like, he drives the way that we play basketball, and so he played 69 games last year. Nice.
And the first third of the season, he was effervescent. Is that the right word? Sure.
Yep.
He was iridescent. He was all the things essent.
He was all of those.
It got him an All-NBA because after injuring himself, he came back as a very solid point guard, an All-Star level point guard, but not an All-NBA level point guard. It was what he did at the beginning of that season. If he could play like that for a whole season, we're going to win a whole crap ton of games. But he hasn't shown that he can do that. So Pascal Siakam is a safety net for us. And, we just signed Andrew Nembhard to hefty money as our starting 2 guard. But we know he can play point guard in the clutch when we have to, when we need him. So, yeah.
And we're getting Benedict Mathurin back.
That's true. Yeah, we did all that without Mathurin last year. So,
yeah, so I would say if Tyrese hits that upper 60s, lower 70s game threshold, 50 wins should be a cakewalk at some level. But
yeah.
No, but nothing's easy in the NBA.
Nothing's easy in the NBA. That's right. All these guys are the best of the best.
T's and C's. That's basically what I have to say. Sorry. All right, you got anything else? What was your favorite thing from the Olympics? Did you followed the Olympics, I assume?
I did. It was pretty cool as we had the a woman came in and she said, "Hey, can you make sure this relay race is on?" And I'm like, I've got 5 TVs with the Olympics on it. Like, I assume it'll be on one of them. And she's like, "Okay, I just really want to make sure I see it." And I was like, "All right, cool." And she's like, my brother is in the relay race.
Whoa! What?
And I went, okay. Let me pull up the app and make sure that it's going to be on. Because if one of these cable shows doesn't cut in to show this thing, I want to make sure she can see it. We put the sound on, and that was the relay race where America got silver. And they were beat by Australia, I think. But she was so proud, and it was so fun. The whole bar was excited for her, and we were all
awesome.
like, Thanksgiving's gonna be rough for you because you got to go home, and people are gonna be like, how you doing? And then he's gonna show up with his silver medal.
Yeah, that's right.
And take all the thunder. So
That's awesome.
So that was pretty fun. That was kind of a memorable moment.
Yeah. I thought I always loved the gymnastics. The gymnastics were fun. The guy, did you watch the men's gymnastics? The guy who was basically like, you know how you always talked about you were going to make the NBA because you were going to be a free throw specialist.
Yeah,
you were just going to be, you would shoot 100% from
That's
free
right.
throw.
And you would just come get me on the bench when it was intentional foul time or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy was explicitly on the men's roster for pommel horse. He's like a pommel horse savant.
Okay.
And so he, in the team competition, you have I think 2 or 3 members do each of the events, right?
Right.
And he did none of the other events. The only event that he did was pommel horse, and he nailed it. In the U.S. got bronze, I believe, silver, maybe bronze, I think. But anyway, and he's just has his glasses that he has to take off while he does the pommel horse, and like it was a whole thing. That was pretty amazing, and like just the way they celebrated was just awesome. It was so cool. It's all that stuff, and the track and field was amazing. I thought visually, the way Paris did things was awesome. Like I just thought the color palette was good. I thought, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I mostly only watched like the primetime broadcast or whatever. So I just got I didn't dive super deep into it, but
did you see the volleyball player that was like 5'4" or whatever? Like freaking amazing. Yeah. The American on the American volleyball team, like she's like tiny because you think of volleyball players as like over 6 feet or whatever, and she was like incredible.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
I had a woman in who was watching it, and she's like, it makes me feel like short people can do anything. And I'm like, well, she's not exactly short. Like, she's like, she's taller than the national average of women. But, yes, she's short. She's the shortest person on the court right now. You're correct.
Sure. Yeah. She's the Muggsy Bogues of women's volleyball.
That's right.
Super cool. All right. Well, let's get out of here. We want to thank you for listening. If you have thoughts on the schedule and any road trips that we might have missed, you can tweet at us or post at us on X. Is that what you say? At Undebeatables.
You X at us on X?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We have a Facebook page / The Undebeatables. You could email us the old school way. Shout out at theundebeatables.com.
But text me to make sure that just text me to check my email. That's how I do it. If it was an important email, text me and let me know I should check my email.
Yep, sounds good. And then we have a website, theundebeatables.com, where there's a contact form. You can choose to be anonymous there if you want to do it that way. And while you're at the website, click over to the store page and buy one of those Schmedium t-shirts.
Oh God, I haven't done it forever. For the architect Donnie Walsh and our once and always Hall of Fame coach, Bobby Leonard. Turn out the lights, the party's over.
Oh, I missed that so much. I didn't. Wow.
You forgot you missed it.
I forgot that I missed it. Yeah, forgot that I needed that in my life.
Welcome back, NBA. You say this is one of your favorite pods of the year.
It is.
Yeah.
Because now I realize that the NBA is coming back, and I get really excited. I love the NBA so much.
Yeah, me too. And it's just this clear sort of unblemished schedule for us to dream about before
Yep.
real life gets in the way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now I'm excited. Now I want to go back and watch some of those playoff games.
Right?
That game. Yeah.
Right?
God, we were good. That was
We
fun.
were so good. And also, you forget how close those Celtics games were. We were swept
Yeah.
with those were we were ahead on 3 of them. And within
you
the
know why
last
I forget?
2 minutes.
I was in Italy, so I couldn't watch them.
That's good. They were all heartbreakers. So
Yeah, I should go back and watch those. Yeah.
yeah. We were ahead in 3 of those games with 2.5 minutes left. We just could not close. And we just need experience. That's also a
did
team
watch-
that didn't change, though, the Celtics. You talk about teams that are going to be ready to pounce on teams.
Yeah.
Celtics are coming back. I mean, maybe they'll have a national title hangover or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, like, Jaylen Brown got dissed by the U.S. national team, and so did Tatum.
Yeah, Tatum,
Somehow.
he was on it. He just didn't play.
Yeah.
Do you
'Cause
really-
He can't shoot. He's bad. He's bad at basketball.
Yeah. Well, he's just not better than LeBron James and Kevin Durant. That's all. There's no shame in that game.
I guess that's true. That's fair. All right, friend. This was awesome.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Good to see you again. And, yeah, we'll have to... God. It'll be here before you know it.